So this is an article from Games Radar, and it seems to directly address something that I pointed out and I was frustrated with, which is I appreciate that. So basically this is about Assassin's Creed Shadows, not
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
that's a different game. But we looked at some of the footage that they released of Nawe doing parkour, and I felt that clearly they've done some improvements to like lighting systems, to the weather systems, and like the trees and foliage and stuff. But as for other things like the movement, animations, stuff like that, it feels like Valhalla 1.5, or maybe even, dare I say, Valhalla 2.0. It could even be that much. But it just doesn't feel like the leap forward I was hoping to see after 4 years, because going from like Syndicate to Origins was a huge leap where, whether you liked it or not, there was a lot different between Syndicate and Origins. Totally different game. And that's a lot of people's frustration, is that it felt like a totally new franchise. But with this 4-year gap, it seems like there haven't been a ton of like major upgrades or shifts or things. It seems like they've done some stuff here and there, but it just doesn't seem like a huge leap forward. However, an article from Games Radar says Assassin's Creed Shadows is pushing the limits of what Ubisoft can do with PS5 and Xbox Series X. It's going big on aspects like weather and lightning. And when you purchase through links on our site, they get a commission. Okay. AC Shadows is pushing the limits of what Ubisoft can do with current-gen consoles. In a new interview with GamesIndustry.biz, AC Shadows lead producer Carl Onier spoke about development of the new RPG. Quote, "It's great to work on a game that comes after something with the pedigree of Valhalla," explains Onier, referencing 2020's sprawling action RPG epic Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the biggest game in Ubisoft series to date. But obviously there are great expectations. We always want to go better, which is what we're trying to do with Shadows. We are pushing the limits of what we can do. It is something we've always wanted to do, but we wanted to find the right time, and I'm sure the other teams would have liked to do it too, the lead producer continued. This game is being made by Ubisoft Quebec, the same team behind 2018's Odyssey, the last mainline title preceding Valhalla. Onier believes Odyssey gave Ubisoft Quebec the experience necessary to make AC Shadows. Now, this is one thing to point out. Odyssey, if somehow you haven't played it or heard people ramble about it, Odyssey is freakishly big, okay? The game is outrageously huge. It's one of like the main critiques about it is that it's too big, which is a critique I also get all of the time. It's just something I've always struggled with. But I just want to show you like the interactive map. If you've never played the game, it's outrageous. Okay. Like this is a snippet, a sliver of the map. There's other brackets, like there's a map over here. There's more maps over here. They can't even fit it all within this mapgenie.io. Like it's ridiculous. There are so many things hidden in these islands. You can sail all of this. There's a Hydra. There's Melanthos. Over here's where the freaking Minotaur is. There's just so much stuff in the game. It's ridiculous. Honestly, looking at this map kind of makes me want to play it again. There's just a ton. Okay. There's just a ton. Up here is where like the Medusa is. Yeah, Medusa, Writhing Dead. So much. Okay. The game is huge. And hearing that they are going to be making Shadows is intriguing, because the one thing that they always have managed to do is go with scale. And we haven't really seen any of that. We haven't heard any discussions of it. We haven't seen anything indicating scale in those boxes that they sent out. Mine's back there. The boxes they sent out to creators kind of to excite them over the announcement of Shadows. They had a map inside the box, and in the map it gave you an idea of some of the points of interest and stuff that you could find in the game. But other than that, there really has not been much discussion of scope or scale. Granted, they have barely started to market this game, but still, I think that is one thing that is untouched that could be a big selling point for a lot of people, is that Valhalla was big. Odyssey was also very, very big. And if they're going for the same scale of game, I think that needs to be disclosed. I'd rather they go a little bit smaller and focus on quality first and foremost. That's my humble opinion. That's my preference. But because I felt like with Valhalla,
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Apologies. I felt like with that game, most of the time you're just riding on your horse through big open grassy fields or through forests, and then you get to a point of interest. You hop off your horse, and then you continue doing what you're doing. But it didn't really feel like there was that much packed in there. Whereas with Odyssey, I think they broke it up enough where there were a lot of hills and mountains, but then you had to hop on your or hop off your horse onto your ship, sail to another island, and then do that. You know, I think that helped it a lot. But with Shadows, we just don't know what that traversal between cities, for example, will be like. But anyway, they continue. But it also felt like the right moment because we have the power in terms of the hardware, but also our new version of the engine, so we could really deliver our vision. It was important for us to have things like light and shadows, which is very performance hungry, and things like dynamic weathers. Onya concludes referencing Ubisoft's upgraded Anvil game engine, which Shadows runs on. Shadows is the first game, blah, 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 and nothing else. Now, this follows in line with something else that we've heard them discuss, which is something that they haven't really delved into in any full-on like marketing materials, and that has to do with the weather systems. They've talked about it. The media has had this described, but Ubisoft's not shown any trailers showcasing it. At Summer Game Fest and at the Ubisoft Forward, they showed some gameplay that explained it sort of, but the idea is basically that in the winter, things like icicles will of course start to droop down on these rooftop edges, and if you're walking on that roof, the weight of Nawe, or certainly Yasuke if he can get up there, will actually cause these to fall, crashing on the ground, making sound, alerting people and guards to your presence. It also means that in the summer or spring, ponds will be melted. And so something like this pond or little river, whatever you call it, will be melted. So you'd be able to swim in it to get underneath this guard. But in the winter, if you take on this castle in the winter, that's going to be frozen solid, a big block of ice. So you can't actually do that anymore. You have to change your tactics according to the weather. That's a cool idea. That's interesting, but we haven't seen anything about that. Then if you're playing as Yasuke, you can hit stuff with a big mace. So there's that. I do think that there's going to be a lot more variability here and a lot more complexity than has been established so far. I do think there's a lot more that they just haven't shown us. But all we can go on right now is what we know about. And what we know is not a whole lot, but they seem very insistent on trying to remind people that this will go bigger, it will go badder than what we've seen before. Even this shot here, the bit of fog and stuff that they do in the distance, the gradated lighting, that looks great. Shots like this, I mean, you can actually see off in the distance another castle, a whole like city and castle built up over there. And then there's other buildings up on top of the hills over here that get clouded out with the snowstorm. It seems like there's a lot here. We just haven't seen it. What I think could be helpful is if in one of the next trailers, they just do a big map overview where they do kind of like that. You fly the eagle over top and you just show people how freakishly big this actually is. Because I think that could excite some of the core fans just to see how much content there is. Because all people are going off right now are the couple of shots of Nawe running through a castle and then Yasuke running through a castle. And it didn't seem that novel. It didn't seem that crazy or particularly interesting. It was like, okay, yep, we can fight guards and then do an assassination mission. Seen that before, but I want to see what they do in this game that really is different from all the others, which is allegedly the weather systems and things like using the shadows, which they keep pushing. So the idea being, again, in the nighttime, when the sun has set, there will be actual shadows cast realistically within the map. And if you take out certain lanterns to create more shadows, then those can be new areas for you to stealth through and not be spotted. That's all very interesting, and it's something we've seen little snippets of here and there or heard discussed, but we haven't really seen it explored in a lot of details. So I think that would be good to see. But it certainly appears to me that they are trying to get ahead of this and trying to push that they are, or push the narrative that they're pushing the boundary, technically speaking, because I think they're already seeing people express maybe frustration that the game is not like a huge graphical leap forward when they were maybe hoping for it. Because again, this is a 4-year dev cycle. This is like the longest dev cycle, I think, in the history of Assassin's Creed, pretty sure. And so you'd hope to see some major leaps forward. Now, to be fair, this was started like right as COVID hit. So you can basically subtract a year effectively from the dev cycle just in terms of efficiency, but still I would just hope to see like that they've been really cooking for 3-4 years, and so far I just haven't seen that. But I really hope that changes once we start to see some actual previews of the game. Maybe they start to do some like extended preview play testing or something. That would be awesome if they gave some media, maybe not maybe not the Verge guys. If they wanted to stay secret, maybe not the Verge guys, but maybe like they start to give people access to some longer play sessions, similar to what they did with Star Wars Outlaws, where they gave people that game for 4 hours to try, because it's kind of hard to hide what the game is after 4 hours. I think after 4 hours, people get a pretty good idea of what they're doing here, even though this game probably is like, you know, a 70-80 hour campaign. I still think that would be very, very revealing if they gave people that much time with it. Yeah, and it is an RPG. It is an RPG, Fox. They are describing it that way. Whether that just means like graphic or not graphically, like in terms of the narrative, there's branching choices. Maybe that's all they mean by it. Do they mean more action RPG where there's like big branching ways to build out your character? I'm not really sure, because again, we just haven't seen much about it, but I'm sure that we're going to find out lots about it once Star Wars Outlaws drops in like 2 weeks. We're gonna see a lot of that, because they've been marketing Star Wars Outlaws a lot, and that's a big game for them. I would argue Assassin's Creed Shadows is an even bigger game for them, so I think they're gonna be marketing that way more. He took my thing.